The Senate will come to order. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will everybody please remain standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please welcome Senator Williams back to the chamber? Mr. Majors, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Balmer, Baumgartner, Carroll, Cook, Crowder, Donovan, Garcia, Grantham, Guzman, Heath, Hill, Hodge, Holbert, John,
Absent.
Johnston, Jones, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez-Umenick, Merrifield, Neville, Newell, Roberts, Scheffel, Scott, Sonnenberg, Stedman, Todd, Ulibarri, Woods, John. Mr. President.
Here, with 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused, we have a quorum. Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the Journal of April 9th be dispensed with and the Journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is approved and the Journal is adopted. Committee reports.
April 9, 2015, Committee on Finance. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following House Bill 1111 be postponed indefinitely. April 9, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Health and Human Services decided consideration as at a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the State Board of Human Services for terms expiring March 1, 2019. The Honorable Thomas Crawford Davidson of Dillon, Colorado, serves as County Commissioner, appointed. The Honorable David Allen Foy of Otis, Colorado, serves as County Commissioner, reappointed. The Honorable Stephen W. Johnson of Fort Collins, Colorado, serves as a County Commissioner, reappointed. Constance Connie M. Rule of Lakewood, Colorado, serves as a public member, reappointed. David A. Irvin of Colorado Springs, Colorado, serves as a public member, reappointed. April 9, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Health and Human Services decided on consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Colorado Commission on the Aging for terms expiring July 1, 2016. Ruth Elaine Long of Fort Collins, Colorado, serves as a Democrat from Congressional District 2, reappointed for terms expiring July 1, 2018. Paulette St. James of Denver, Colorado, serves as a Democrat from Congressional District 1, appointed. Celestino J. Santisteban of Rocky Ford, Colorado, to serve as an unaffiliated and as an at-large member from Congressional District 4, appointed. Jody Barker of Colorado Springs, Colorado, serves as a Republican from Congressional District 5, appointed. Benjamin Moultrie of Aurora, Colorado, serves as a Democrat from Congressional District 6, appointed. Christina Johnson of Lakewood, Colorado, serves as a Democrat from Congressional District 7, appointed. April 9, 2015, Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1269 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 9, 2015, Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1097 be referred favorably to the Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. April 9, 2015, Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1186 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations.
Senate Services.
April 10, 2015, correctly printed Senate Bills 264 and 265, correctly engrossed Senate Bill 91, correctly revised House Bills 1042 and 1212.
Introductions of resolutions.
Senate Joint Resolution 23 by Senators Cook and Guzman and Representative Saez concerning declaring the week of May 10th through 16th, 2015 as Police Week, and in connection therewith declaring May 15, 2015 as Peace Officers Memorial Day.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate lay over Senate Joint Resolution 23 to April 27.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Senate Joint Resolution 23 will lay over until April 27th. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Senate Joint Resolution 24 by Senators Holbert and Heath and Representative Ransom commemorating the 150th anniversary of the death of President Abraham Lincoln.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate lay over Senate Joint Resolution 24 to April 15.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Senate Joint Resolution 24 will lay over until April 15th. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move that the Senate proceed out of order for a particularly important moment of personal privilege. Senator Cook.
You have heard the motion that the Senate proceed out of order. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The Senate will proceed out of order. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a tribute that I'd like to read, and then I'll introduce my guests. The Senate of the Colorado Legislature, convened in the first regular session of the 70th General Assembly, hereby extends highest congratulations and commendations to the Colorado Rockies. We recognize the Colorado Rockies as the team owners, Richard and Charles Monfort, for providing the state of Colorado continued economic revenue and charitable contributions. Through the Colorado Rockies Baseball Club Foundation, the Monfort Family Foundation, and the Monfort Excellent Fund, the Colorado Rockies and Richard and Charles Monfort have contributed countless programs, charitable funding, and scholarships to Coloradoans. Additionally, the Colorado Rockies have provided the most economic impact of any of the professional sport teams in Colorado. You have made the state of Colorado proud, and we wish you the best of luck in 2015. And I'd like to introduce Dick and Charlie Monfort and their CEO, Hal Roth. Dick and Charlie.
It is a pleasure to welcome folks that are leading an undefeated team into the chambers. Senator Cook.
President, thank you. I'd like to just say a few other words.
Please.
Nice headlines in the paper. These are the kind of we like to see. Off to a rousing start and sweep. So great headlines. And I'd like just to continue on a little bit about the Rockies because they're such a valuable partner to Denver and the state of Colorado. Valuable partner to the community and economically as well. The Rockies are valued at over $500 million, and they're the leader in the region's economic impact. They play 81 regular season home games here, drawing countless fans to Coors Field, to the bars, and to the restaurants in the lower downtown area. And Coors Field's location makes the Rockies the most powerful economic engine of the four major sports teams here in Denver. And it's estimated that for every $1 spent at Coors Field, there's $5 spent in the community.
Well, at $9 beers, that's a lot. Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't chop that one. But, longtime developer in Denver's city center says Coors Field as the chief catalyst for the area's transformation, a chain reaction they say started with people being drawn to Lodo for baseball, leading to a surge in entertainment investment, drinking and dining establishments, followed by loft projects, and finally office development. From 2000 to 2011, the population of downtown Denver increased 61% because of the Rockies and Coors Field. You know, it's great on the business aspect, but the Rockies are also very charitable in their giving. In 1991, as a public charitable organization, the Colorado Rockies Baseball Club Foundation was formed, and it goes to underprivileged and at-risk youth through programs for youth baseball and softball, education, literacy, and drug and alcohol abuse, awareness and prevention. The Rockies Charitable Fund was formed in 1993. It is a fund of Robert R. McCormick Foundation, a national charitable trust whose philanthropic mission is carried out through four program areas: community, journalism, education, and citizenship. Richard and Charles Monfort also have a lot of charitable foundations. The Monfort Family Foundation is a family-dedicated charitable organization which gifted $10 million to Children's Hospital. And as a side note, I had a 9-month-old granddaughter who spent several weeks in there. She was diagnosed with leukemia at 9 months, and she was rushed to Children's Hospital and spent several weeks there, and for 2 years had chemotherapy down at the wing that the Montforts provided. So a personal note on thank you. The Montforts recently funded artwork and photo display along with the Colorado Rockies memorabilia, which enhanced the 7th floor of the hospital. Ongoing funding and endorsement for the Boys and Girls Club in Metro Denver and in Weld County. They continue to be an important work. In 2012, the benevolent work continued by matching dollar for dollar on collected contributions for the Coloradoans devastated by the Colorado wildfires. The Montfort family also supports the Montfort School of Business at the University of Northern Colorado, the Montfort Excellence Fund, the Colorado State University, which both have tremendous impacts on students, faculty, and the Northern Colorado community through its scholarships for exceptional students and supporting outstanding faculty. So again, I want to thank the Montforts and the Colorado Rockies for being such a great partner and the support that you've given to all of Colorado. So again, Dick and
Thank you
Charlie
for joining us today. Senator Jones.
Yes, I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. I also want to welcome my
Colleagues?
Greeley West Spartan classmates to the chamber. Dick was a year ahead of me, Charlie a few years behind. I got to know Charlie through a mutual friend quite well when I was in grad school. And it's good to see him. It's been a while.
The Senate will stand in a brief recess to greet our guests. The Senate will come back to order, which brings us to third reading of bills. Mr. Majors, please read the title to Senate Bill 91.
Senate Bill 91 by Senator Scott and Representative Willig concerning a reduction in the statutory limitation period applicable to legal actions for construction defects on improvements to real property.
Is there further, Senator Scott, you going to move your bill? Senator Scott, you have been recognized.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I'd like to move Senate Bills 091 on third reading and final passage and ask for a resounding aye vote.
Then please do so. You said you would like to do it. We're going to need you to do it.
I move 091 and ask for an aye vote.
A roll call has been requested. Mr. Majors, please poll the senators.
Senators Aguilar. Aguilar, no. Balmer. Balmer, aye. Baumgardner. Baumgardner, aye. Carroll. Carroll, no. Cook. Crowder. Crowder, aye. Donovan. Donovan, no. Garcia. Garcia, no. Grantham. Grantham, aye. Guzman. Guzman, no. Heath. Heath, no. Hill. Hill, aye. Hodge. Hodge, no. Holbert. John. John, no. Johnston. Johnston, no. Jones. Jones, no. Kafalis. Kafalis, no. Kerr. Lambert. Lambert, aye. Lundberg. Lundberg, aye. Marble. Marble, aye. Martinez Humenic. Merrifield. Merrifield, no. Neville. Neville, aye. Newell. Newell, no. Roberts. Roberts, aye. Sheffel. Sheffel, aye. Scott. Scott, aye. Sonnenberg. Sonnenberg, aye. Stedman. Stedman, no. Todd. Todd, no. Ulibarri. Ulibarri, no. Woods. Woods, aye. Cook. Cook, aye. Holbert. Holbert, aye. Kerr. Kerr, no. Martinez Humenic. Martinez Humenic, aye. Mr. President.
Aye.
Mr. President, aye.
With 18 ayes, 17 no, 0 absent, 0 excuse, Senate Bill 91 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Lambert, Mr. Majority Leader, Senator Lundberg, Senator Scott, Senator Balmer, Senator Cook, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Neville, Senator Woods, Senator Crowder, Senator Holbert, Senator Grantham, Senator Hill, Senator Roberts, Senator Marble, please have the President. Mr. Majors, please read the title to House Bill 1042.
House Bill 1042 by Representative Foote and Senator Cook concerning requiring pre-sentence reports to include a statement concerning a defendant's eligibility for release from incarceration.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1042 and ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1042? Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1042 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Mr. Majority Leader, Senator Roberts, Senator Martinez Humenic, Senator Woods, Senator Lundberg. Mr. Major, Senator Marble. Mr. Majors, please read. Senator John, if I miss you on this, you can let the secretary know. Senator Lambert. Senator Johnston. Mr. Majors, please read the title to House Bill 1212.
House Bill 1212 by Representative Becker Kay and Senators Kerr and Merrifield concerning making permanent the State Board of Land Commissioners' authority to sell state trust land to local governments.
Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1212 on third reading and final passage.
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. President. We were asked a question yesterday that we were not able to answer yesterday, but we are able to answer today. We were asked about the funds and what kind of fund do they go into from proceeds from this. So the answer is the proceeds from House Bill 1212 transactions are deposited in the non-simultaneous exchange fund, which is section 36-1-124.5. The board has up to 2 years to reinvest the proceeds into real property. Otherwise, the funds are deposited in the public school permanent fund. The non-simultaneous exchange fund is used for all property disposal proceeds. For example, direct sale or public auction. We ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1212? Are there any no votes? Senator Crowder, Senator Neville, Senator Marble, Senator Baumgartner, Senator Woods, Senator Lambert. With 29 ayes, 6 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1212 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Jones, Minority Leader Carroll, Senator Donovan, Senator Heath, Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Request that the general order second reading of bills consent calendar be moved to the end of the general order second reading of bills calendar. It has only one bill on it, House Bill 1198.
Granted. General orders second reading of bills. Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills. Senator Holbert will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. The Coke rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 135?
Senate Bill 135 by Senators Martinez, Jimenez, and John concerning modifications to statutory provisions governing urban redevelopment affecting public bodies in connection with urban renewal projects.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the committee lay over Senate Bill 135 to April 14.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 135 to April 14. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate 135 will lay over to April 14th. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of Senate Bill 177?
Senate Bill 177 by Senators Scheffel and Ulibarri and Representatives Del Grosso and Singer concerning prerequisites to the authority of a unit owners association to pursue a resolution of disputes involving construction defects.
Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. we move Senate Bill 177 and its associated business, labor, and technology report.
To the committee report, Senator Scheffel.
Committee report made various technical amendments concerning some of the provisions of the bill, which we'll get into more detail concerning arbitration, notice procedures. Ask for an aye vote. I vote on the committee report.
Is there further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colleagues, it's a pleasure to bring, and we move again, Senate Bill 177. It's a privilege to bring this with my colleague from Commerce City. Senate Bill 177 concerns a topic that we all are aware of in this building. It's something we are all acutely aware of: owner-occupied multifamily housing. Its need, its market, the product, lack thereof. There's much discussion about this, and this bill really represents a multi-year project for my colleague and myself. It's actually something that a number of people have worked on in this building, and I applaud all of you that have worked on this. I'd like to say a couple of things as we move into the discussion here. Number one, this is a long-going effort. It's a bipartisan effort, and again, I want to thank my colleague for his efforts on this. It's something we began to work on together a number of years ago. Let me say at the outset a couple of things that this bill is not. It's not a be-all and end-all. It's not a panacea. It does not claim to solve all of the problems surrounding owner-occupied multifamily housing. No bill in this building does that. This is an incremental step. It represents the hard work of, again, my colleague, myself, many of you who have been interested and worked on this topic, a sizable stakeholder group that has worked, again, over a number of years on this. And this is seen as an incremental step. We all know where we'd like to be, and this is an incremental step that we believe will help get us there. There's no guarantee. It's a try. What it is not is it's not an insurance bill. We all know of the insurance pressures concerning this issue, and we probably need an insurance bill at some point. It's not the answer, the be-all and end-all, the panacea to the crisis in affordable housing. It doesn't claim to be. I don't claim it to be, and it's not that. We need continued work on the topic of affordable housing, and the good news here to report, apart from this, is efforts continue in that regard. Discussions are going on even as we present this bill, and they need to continue to go on. But this is seen as an incremental step to address this issue. It focuses on encouraging folks to get together and try to solve their problems concerning issues surrounding construction defects. It encourages the sharing and the free flow of information. Again, not perfect, but it does encourage that. I believe it's a positive step, and again, appreciate the collaboration that has gone on with this. It is truly one of the bipartisan efforts of the session, and so we'll defer to my colleague to share his views on it, but would certainly ask for your support, and I vote on Senate Bill 177.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, colleagues. I know you have heard quite a bit about Senate Bill 177, and I want to start by thanking my colleague as well for his work on this. We began this effort nearly 3 years ago when I voted against his original bill and have committed myself over the last 3 years to find common ground. As he mentioned, this bill is not a panacea. It's not an end-all, be-all silver bullet. We never see those in this chamber. But it is a bill that is designed to do a few things, and I want to talk about those things because you heard what the bill was not, and I want to tell you what the bill actually is. So this bill, as constructed, does 5 things. The first is it ensures that prospective condo and townhome buyers are fully informed about how disputes will be resolved if there is an issue related to defective construction before they buy. Number 2, it provides homeowners in a common interest community a full and fair notice about the potential consequences related to addressing or ignoring a construction defect claim. Number 3, it allows a majority of homeowners, not a small handful of HOA board members, to determine how best to move forward in fixing defective construction. Number 5, it clarifies that the methods for resolving a defective issue that were originally outlined in their contract, known as a declaration, remain the same from the sale of the product to the final result of the construction defect claim. That's it. That's what this bill does. And as my my colleague and co-sponsor said, it is part of a larger conversation about the housing issue in our state. And this is something that touches every corner of our state. Respectfully ask for an aye vote. We do have a few technical amendments that we want to introduce now before we get to the full debate. So I will pass over L023.
There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read L023?
Amendment L023 to
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L023.
To the amendment, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. L023 makes a conforming amendment. During committee and in the committee report we just adopted, we said that the homeowners and the developers would mutually agree to an arbitration service provider. This also requires mediation in our bill and Senate Bill 177, and we're conforming the requirement to mutually select a mediator in addition to an arbiter.
Further discussion? Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colleagues would ask for an aye vote on L023.
Further discussion on Amendment L023. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L023. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. There is another amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read L024?
Amendment L024 to Senate Bill 177.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L024.
To the amendment.
L024 is again another technical amendment. In the notice that's provided to homeowners before they buy, we are inserting claimed in front of defect so people know that there may be a claimed defect before they purchase property. Also, lines 5 and 6 of the amendment strike out a reference to a prohibition on consultants helping to draft the notice. This was a technical error in an amendment we adopted in committee, and so this is just to conform with the original intent of the amendment that was adopted in committee.
Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. L024 is a collaborative amendment as well. Ask for an aye vote.
Further discussion on L024. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L024. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes, both of them, have it, and the amendment is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read L027?
Amendment L027.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L027.
To the amendment.
L027 is in response to concerns we heard in testimony about the binding decision of an arbitration resolution. And so this provides for an appeal right. So folks can appeal if they feel that the arbitration service provider did not substantially follow law. So this was done in collaboration and in direct response to the committee testimony we heard. I ask for an aye vote on L027.
Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would ask for an aye vote on L027 as well. It is a collaborative and good amendment. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on L027? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L027. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L027 is adopted. Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I rise in strong opposition to Senate Bill 177, and I'm in opposition because, in my opinion, this bill does, or I shouldn't say in my opinion, reading this bill, I think that what it does is substantially different from what you heard reported just now. First, if you look at page 3, lines 25 through page 4, lines 2, it says that once the bylaws are drafted by the builder, homeowners are not allowed to vote to change any bylaws. And it also goes on to say that if other things are changed, homeowners are still not allowed to change bylaws that relate to construction defects. And so while it's nice that we try to provide a neutral arbitrator or mediator, if the initial bylaws require mandatory arbitration or mediation by a specific person, that is not changed that is not allowed to be changed by what's written into the bill. Secondly, it asks the homeowners to get a majority vote of people living in the condominium. And listening to testimony, we heard testimony about a homeowners association that needed a vote to actually decrease their personal dues because the penthouse was not paying their fair amount. And they could not get a majority of homeowners to vote, even on something that was beneficial to them. Thirdly, it says that the homeowners have to list every possible wrong that could happen with the bill and every possible expense that might be raised, and they have to do that without hiring any experts to do an assessment of the wrongs and the expenses. And finally, I think, and perhaps most concerning, is that the bill would then leave homeowners with absolutely no recourse if the largest investment turned out to have significant defects. With the elimination of a right to jury trial, with arbitration and mediation, we are being told in committee that the costs are not significantly less, that often they're a barrier up front for the average homeowner, and I think that this will only further take away rights from people who have struggled to spend everything they can to buy a home, and I'd ask for a no vote.
Further discussion on Senate Bill 177. Senator Heath.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is, I think, one of the more significant bills that is coming before this chamber this session. And this one is a really difficult one for me. I have the utmost respect for my two colleagues who are the sponsors of this bill. I've had a lot of opportunity to have conversations with both of them and with many others. I also have, in my background, had the opportunity to work on housing, residential, commercial building through my role, many roles with Johns Manville. And I do know that ultimately the really only answer to this is building a quality product in the beginning. I have numerous concerns with this bill. I probably would have less problems with some of the provisions of this bill if it weren't being sold as an affordable housing bill. I heard the sponsors say this is the beginning. This is not the end-all, be-all. And I think we all would agree with that. But my concern is, rather than a step forward, I think this is a step backward if we're talking about dealing with the issue of affordable housing. As a member of the Business Committee, I heard the testimony on this bill. On many occasions, I tried to ask the witnesses how this would favorably impact affordable housing. I also tried to get at what people defined as affordable housing. I never got an answer to either one of those questions from any of the witnesses, at least as I interpreted what they said. So from my standpoint, this bill basically passes on the risks that a builder ought to assume, a developer ought to assume, to provide a quality product to those that are purchasing it. And if we're putting this in the context of affordable housing, This means that this bill basically is passing on those risks to those that are least affordable and least able to assume those risks, if we're assuming that this is being done for the purpose of solving the affordable housing problem that we have in this state. Nobody here would deny that we have an affordable housing problem in this state. My concern is that this doesn't deal with it, and in my mind, makes it worse. It is true that most projects are built to the highest quality. And one of the builders, developers that testified before our committee was a man by the name of Mr. Waggart, who I must say was one of the more impressive people that I have met. I understand that and would guess that he is a quality builder and developer, and I intend to have a chance once this session is over to sit down with him and have a conversation about this project. But as he said, and I'm going to quote, "There are laggards, and this is who we have to protect against." To not do so, in my mind, is not doing our job. Because, like it or not, there are laggards in virtually every field. And we know that some projects are not going to be the quality that we would hope and expect. And if we are going to pass on the quality problems that these, quote, laggards have to people who are least able to assume those that are buying a project or a condo that is, quote, affordable, then I think we are doing a huge disservice through this bill. And by putting in all of the requirements that we have in this bill, it is going to cost anyone who has to defend themselves because they were sold a house that was defective, to me, puts them in a worse position than if they hadn't even moved into the house in the first place, or the condo in the first place. So when I look at this bill and its total context and what it is alleged to be able to be doing, and that is to, quote, make affordable housing more available, it is doing so, in my opinion, on the backs of those people who are least able to assume the risks that this bill is forcing them to assume. And by requiring a majority vote of those condos owners, they are putting themselves in a position of not even to be able to defend themselves if their condo happens to be the one that is defective. And we know that not necessarily all condos in a development are going to be subject to the same defects, because things happen during the course of building a project. I appreciate very much what the sponsors of this bill are trying to do. And I truly believe they feel that this is an answer to the affordable housing issues in the state. I happen to, unfortunately, disagree with their premise. I happen to disagree wholeheartedly with the fact that transferring the risk that the builder-developer ought to assume to a person who has purchased a condo relying on the fact that this is a quality product, and when it turns out that it's not, to have that basically that purchaser of, quote, an affordable housing, to be able to assume that risk when they are the least able to do this. I might have a little different sense of this bill if it weren't billed as an affordable housing bill. I doubt that probably as well, because I don't think anybody ought to assume the risk of a poor quality product, a defective product. But in my mind, as an affordable housing bill and as a basic solution to affordable housing, I have to vehemently say that this bill does not get us there, and in fact, I believe makes it worse. So I would ask you to cast a no vote on Senate Bill 177.
Senator Guzman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I stand here before you in opposition to this bill, and I do so with great respect to the two sponsors who have worked so hard on this and continue to work hard on this. This is a strange time because I feel like this is a time that reminds me of other times in our history where brother has been against brother, or sister has been against brother, and so forth. It's not usual that I am on the opposite side of a colleague, from my party or a colleague from the other side. I guess it's more usual from the other side, but not, not generally am I on the opposite side of my own colleague who is also like a brother to me. I think the reason that I have concerns for this is that it has always been defined to me and to several of us as an affordable housing issue. It's an issue where those folks who live in trailer homes across this state would be able to have the opportunity to afford a home and to put dollars into a home that they are purchasing, which is something that we all want, which is something that would help all of our people here in Colorado. There are folks living in trailer homes. Some of them are renting them, some of them are buying them all over the state. On the western slope, because they can't afford to live there in regular homes. Over here in Commerce City, here in Denver, in Aurora, in Pueblo, wherever there are working families. I was always under the understanding that this bill, because of the way it's been described to me, is a bill that will help in affordable housing issues, that will bring those folks who have otherwise not been able to afford a home to be able to be first-time owners. And to be able to be a first-time owner rather than rent is really one of the best ways for this state and for the people of this state to get themselves to a place where they can become more equitable in terms of their abilities to save, in terms of their ability to build assets, and so forth and so on. I'm always amazed at the folks, especially the young folks, who say, well, I want this bill to pass because of construction defects. Or it is because we can't pass this bill that I can't get a house in Denver. And so the other night I was talking to a man that many of us know. He's 34 years old, no percent down, and with your FICO score and your credit lower than what it should be. And he said no. And so I said, so why do you think it's this bill, it's the passage of a bill like this one that would make a difference? It seems to me that what the real issue here is not changing the law. It's really, what are we going to do to help people, working people, get on their feet, help them have jobs that give them salary that they can, where they can save, where they can afford to actually be approved and buy a home. Because I have been told time and time again, this is about affordable housing. I do not, after all the study that I've done, I do not see a correlation between the lack of this bill and affordable housing opportunities. I don't see that correlation, and I have asked for more of that and have not been able to get that. I think that this bill is, the good things about this bill is that stakeholders or the sponsors have been working on this bill for a long time. But I don't think that the right stakeholders have been at the table. This indeed is an issue that we need to solve here in Colorado. I would challenge the sponsors of the bill to build a better stakeholder group so that we could come to a better compromise, if you will, a better bill that doesn't seem to favor one group, but the outcome would favor all of those who are part of this challenge. So I am against this bill because I don't think it is about affordable housing, as I've been told. I don't think it's about helping folks get into their first home. But I do appreciate the sponsors working on this. I appreciate all of those folks who have been able to be part of a stakeholder group, however small it has been or large as it has been, because I think this is a major issue for Colorado. And so I urge a no vote on this bill, at the same time that I thank the sponsors for continuing the important dialogue and study and questioning, challenging of this big issue here in Colorado. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 177? Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise, unfortunately, in opposition to Senate Bill 177. And members, we have all heard for the last 3 years about how difficult our affordable housing is in Colorado, and it's an issue for every single one of my communities. Every single one of my mayors has reached out to me. The issue is not deniable. This, after listening to testimony, after doing research, after reading the bill, it just seems like it's the emperor's new clothes type of paradigm, where we're believing that this is going to put pressure or going to relieve and be able to be part of a solution, and I just cannot get there. And I have tried, and my communities all know that I have tried very hard on this. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was that we talk a lot about mediation. I do, as being a real good form of dispute resolution, low cost, avoiding mitigation. So I am a huge proponent of that, and I really do appreciate the bill sponsors putting in some caveats for mediation in there. However, it doesn't go far enough. For me and some of the mediators I've talked with, the mediators that I've talked to support the idea that mediation be required in all construction defect claims. However, recommending that the timing of the mediation be changed from the current language in the bill to require mediation after filing of the claim rather than precedent to filing, because this would allow insurance companies to be brought into the process and thereby increasing settlement options. The other is to address the right of the homeowners to change their governing documents, having which HOAs currently have prior to a defect claim being filed. We propose, or I'm proposing alongside of some of the mediators, is proposing the bill should continue to allow HOAs to eliminate binding arbitration and select another dispute resolution method. But when you look at the bill, if you have the original declaration that is written even before the first homeowner gets into that association, it's written by the developers. It has to be, because that's how the process works. Well, once you have that in your declaration, you cannot change it with this bill. You can never go back and change. So let's say you have brand new, a whole new set of homeowners going in, and they as a group have no option to change their own declaration. I think that it just doesn't work for me in order to move into a new community and then never being able to change that. The provision does require that mediation prior to a lawsuit being filed or arbitration being commenced. While I believe that mediation is a good thing, the problem is that at this time the developer's insurance isn't triggered and the subcontractors also are not brought into the mediation. From a practical perspective, this means there is little to no chance of settlement during mediation at that stage. It is also not uncommon for these declarations to require mandatory arbitration, which the developer chooses. In some cases, the developer will even draft caps on their liability into their declarations. So because arbitrators, there are some I won't even go there. That's more detail than you need. After transitioning an association from developer to homeowner control, it, to me, is unconscionable to not permit the homeowners to amend the declaration to remove sometimes one-sided or unfair arbitration provisions placed in the declaration by the developer. Also, in the HOA context, it is important for all of us to understand, and this is one of the things that we heard in testimony, that the use of arbitration is more expensive than having the dispute heard by a jury sometimes. Arbitrators are paid on an hourly basis for their services. If you have a panel, for instance, of 3 arbitrators and the arbitration takes 3 to 4 weeks, the arbitration fees will be significant. The association's portion of the arbitration fee comes off the top of the award and for the construction defects. So in some cases, what we heard in testimony was that this means the association doesn't even have enough funds to repair the defects. And we did hear that in testimony. People came from homeowners associations saying if we were unable to change our declaration, for instance, we wouldn't have been able to repair our defects. So the other thing, too, that got me was listening in testimony was listening to the cause and what this bill was trying to fix. What we have been told is that the bill is trying to fix affordable housing. There was the Pacey study that came about that was looking at all of these other factors that come into play, like stricter lending requirements. There is less demand from millennials, that millennials are now coming in saying, many of them, can't generalize all of them, but many of them, including my own daughter, saying, I don't know if I ever want to own a home. I think I'd rather rent. And so we've heard that from the new millennials coming in with their part of the new economy. Marriage, we heard that is a large indicator of homeownership, but the percentage of 26 to 30-year-olds has dropped from 75% in the 2000s to only 50% today. So time after time in this report, which was done by an economist or a group of economists, came back with this isn't this isn't the cause of the lack of affordable housing. So as much as I really wanted, and I really want to help with affordable housing, I don't believe this bill does that. And it, to me, is not a fix for that. What is ironic is that just last week we had an opportunity on an amendment on the budget to help with affordable housing, and we chose, well, some of us chose no in this chamber. We could have had direct dollars over, I think it was $3 million to go into affordable housing. So with that, I wanted to explain my no vote, and especially to all of my communities who have reached out to me about this. I just could not get there. I really tried with all the research. I still am at a no, and so I would ask for a no vote.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, as a lawyer by background, I suppose I could come at this as a lawyer. I'm married to a builder who doesn't do condos and townhomes, but has been a builder all my adult life. But I'm not coming at it as someone who's seen the builder's life. I'm coming at this as somebody who, for now 9 years, has tried to find a place to live in downtown Denver when I'm here on this job. And what has struck me year after year is how few places there are to purchase that at any level of affordability. So as I look at this, I'm just kind of the average Jane thinking about myself, and I'm not quite yet a senior. I'm definitely not a millennial, but I don't have, at $30,000 a year salary here, I don't have a lot of disposable income to be buying a unit. But what I have looked at year after year, it just stuns me, the price of a condo or townhome in Denver. And I every time I go through this process, I wonder, how could a young person possibly do this? How could a young family, maybe with children that aren't even in school yet, how could they possibly afford a place to live in not only in downtown Denver, but in the surrounding suburbs? I remember when the construction defects bills went through, it was right before I got here, but I was here in the building listening to some of the conversation. And I thought, well, I think it's well-intentioned. We'll see how the consequences roll out in the real world. I think we've had enough time to see the consequences of how it rolls out. And as to millennials not wanting to put their money into their own unit, I think obviously that differs person to person, but what a positive investment in their future if they actually own something. I know every month when I pay my rent check, I, as an older person, am very aware that I have just given away a significant chunk of money to somebody that I'll never see return from. But if there was a way to actually purchase a place here in downtown Denver in a reasonable range, I would do it. So I think the bill sponsors are doing the right thing. I think they're responding to whether it was foreseeable or unforeseeable. It is, in fact, the consequences of policy direction that we took quite a while ago. I commend them, not only for the seniors and the young people, but also for those of us stuck somewhere in the middle. And hopefully there'll be more units out on the market that people can actually buy.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support of Senate Bill 177, and I don't believe this is a political issue at all. I believe this is an issue of market distortion. And when we talk about what we're seeing here, as far as I believe that we have a demand for condos. I have a letter here from one gentleman who explained that he was trying to sell his condo only to find that it was wrapped up in one of these issues with the homeowners association and the developers, or excuse me, the builders. And even though he had 4 offers on the first day above market, he was unable to move it, and he was unable to move his family into. He needed to sell his condo, of course, so that he could move his family into a home that he wanted to purchase. So The distortion of the market, when any one phase of the market is distorted, it affects every piece of the housing market. Let's take a look at, I have another letter here from Urban Land Conservancy, who talked about their challenges of building affordable condos in Colorado. They talk about Yale Commons, Sheridan Station, 38th and Blake, Park Hill Village West, 11th and Sheridan, 25th and Stout, the Caledonian. Over 750 affordable condos are not getting built at these sites, and they support Senate Bill 177. Let's look at the numbers and listen to where you represent. Adams County, this is 2013-2014 Metro study for condo construction. Adams County, 0 condos units. Arapahoe County, 0. Arvada, 0. Aurora, 0. Berthoud, 0. Boulder, a whopping 28. Boulder County, 0. Brighton, 0. Move on down. Castle Pines, Castle Rock, Centennial, Cherry Hill, 0. Commerce City, 0. The whole city of Denver, a whopping 79. Douglas County must be doing something a little different. They have 160, so there's a demand there. Englewood, Erie, Golden, Greenwood Village, Jefferson County, my whole county of Jefferson County, 0. Lafayette, Lakewood, Littleton, Lone Tree, Parker, Louisville, Superior, Westminster, Wheat Ridge, Thornton, 0 condos being built. It's not a coincidence here, folks. The cost is prohibitive, and we need to have 177 to alleviate some of these issues. I urge your support.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, Senator Neville, the senator who just spoke, I didn't get the whole name out, reminded me of a conversation I had with one of our former colleagues here when he said, you know, we agree that there's a problem. We even agree what the problem is. What we don't agree upon is the solution. And so I agree there is a problem with affordable housing in Denver. I think part of that is because of the incredible economic boom that the city and county of Denver has seen, where we are down to a less than 4% unemployment market. We have a lot of high-tech, high-cost jobs, and actually what's interesting is that one of Denver Health's clinics that was set in 5 Points, the people they serve, the numbers are going down because that area is being so gentrified that the population that live there can no longer afford to live there. And so I do think that we do not have affordable housing in Denver, and I think it's exemplified by the fact that people who have historically lived in an African American community can no longer afford that community because it's being gentrified. And I do think we need to address the issue of affordable housing. And so I want to be sure that we understand that we all agree on the problem. Where we significantly disagree is what sacrifices are we willing to make to fix the problem. And I'm reminded of a woman who came to our hearing. Her name was Rosalind Larson, and she owns a condo in Triple Crown Condos at Observatory Village in Fort Collins. And she said that the defects that they've been having that came up about 5 years later were that the ground was settling in places, causing their rear patios to be out of level and the adjacent drywall and trim to be damaged. There were numerous cement front porches that now have large cracks. Their alleys, their flatwork, and their other horizontal surfaces don't slope to the drain, causing swampy areas in their investment. There's no weather-resistant barrier on the buildings, and so they're cold. The siding stonework on the outside of the buildings has fallen off because the wood behind it has rotted due to inadequate or non-existing flashing, and their roofs have inadequate flashing as well and are poorly ventilated. She said the defects professionally evaluated are totaling $3.5 million, and they could not get recourse. And she was concerned because she's retired. She's living on a pension. She took her whole life savings and purchased her condo so she would have a place to live until her death. She's already paid $5,000 out of pockets to try and prepare this defect, and now she's having to go to court to try and be sure that the biggest investment in her life, the biggest investment in her life, this retired woman who has no way of earning more money to do this again, is rectified and preserved. You know, I was told initially that if we were to change these laws, that the homeowners, the construction firms couldn't get insurance, that they couldn't get insurance because people were just willy-nilly throwing out, frivolous lawsuits. And personally, I don't think this woman's complaint to me sounds frivolous. Well, insurance folks have been quoted in the paper as saying that there is no evidence that Senate Bill 177 will change the insurance market, will lead to more insurance for home builders. And in fact, last year in Insider Real Estate News, a principal from the Western Development was interviewed, and what he said was, the best defense is to build a really good product. And I think when we're talking about the entire life savings of people who are trying to stay in the middle class, Senate Bill 177 will not do anything to encourage quality construction, but rather it will prevent homeowners from being ensured that the biggest purchase of their life is a home that they can be proud to live in for the rest of their lives. Remember, lawsuits don't create defects. Shoddy construction creates defects, and mandatory arbitration doesn't cure them. And Senate Bill 177 will not lead to enhanced insurance. It occurred to me maybe the insurers don't want to insure the construction because then they have to insure the homes. And when these defects lead to worse problems after a natural disaster, they're stuck with those costs as well. And so I would ask that you vote no on Senate Bill 177.
Senator Heath.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I don't think we want to belabor this anymore, but I think you're hearing a constant theme from all of us that we all share, and that is the lack of affordable housing in this state, and that certainly exists in Boulder as well. I think we all also felt and feel very strongly that this bill does not solve the affordable housing issue. I am a lawyer, but I haven't practiced in a long time, so I don't even pretend to want to practice law again. So I went to a friend who I respect, who has knowledge in this field, and I said to him in this case, I said, do me a favor, read this bill, assume you have a client that walks into your office that is basically a person who needs to buy an affordable home, and take a look at it and tell me what you would advise him or her that walks into your office, whether you would advise them to sign, knowing that this is basically the basis on which you're going to have to live in terms of the developer's bylaws and so forth. And he came back the next day and said, absolutely, there's no way that I could ever advise a client who is buying an affordable condo to sign this with this, knowing that this is the parameters in which you would have to go, which is basically not allowing you to deal with your biggest investment, and that is having the access to court. So I would just say to you, I would love to be able to vote for this if I felt this solved the affordable housing issue. It is clear to me that it doesn't, and again, I would just renew my request for a no vote.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So how many of you, when you had kids around, or if you still have kids around, played Monopoly with them? So what if your kid got the Monopoly game out and said, I get Boardwalk and Park Place, and I get a hotel on each, and that's the new set of rules? What would you tell them? What you would probably tell them is, no, you can't do that. You can't rig the rules that way to benefit yourself just because you set up the game. And they say, I set up the game. Why can't I do that? Well, that's not fair to everybody who's playing the game. And that's what's happening here. The developers gets to write the rules. Everybody has to live with those rules. They're very difficult to change, which puts people at a severe disadvantage if they have a problem with their home, a defect in their home. They call it construction defects for a reason. It's a defective home that needs to be fixed. Biggest investment most people will have. Most people don't have the wherewithal to fix it themselves, or they'll be severely out of pocket. But these rules that the developer wrote make it very, very hard for them to fix their home. This bill makes it even worse. It says you can't change the rules, even by a 2/3 vote. You can't change the rules that the developer wrote. How's that fair? How would you explain that to your child? That's just not right. We do have a housing problem, affordable and regular here, where regular people can't get into a home. We should be focusing on that issue and not focusing on ways to make it harder for these regular people to get their house fixed that shouldn't have been defective in the first place. If we were serious about this, we would go and look for third-party verifiers that these houses are built correctly. Some of the companies are doing that themselves. It adds a little cost to the house, but not what people have been saying. That is a better solution to this problem. That way the developer doesn't have a lawsuit or arbitration or mediation. That's the way the homeowner has a home that they don't have to worry about, and they can worry about their kids' grades and teaching them how to play Monopoly fairly. This is not a balanced playing field. It's getting worse with this bill. It's hurting regular people. And it's not going to solve the affordable housing issue. And it's probably not going to solve much of the regular housing issue because we have a huge influx of people coming into the state that are driving up the market. We see it in every community in the state pretty much. So let's do this right. Let's do what we would do with our kids. Let's say you don't rig the system on behalf of anybody that's playing. You fix it, you make a good house, you build a good house, and people can enjoy a good life in that house and not have to worry about lawsuits, arbitration, and mediation. I ask for a no vote on this bill. It makes a bad problem even worse.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, colleagues, for a robust debate on this bill. And I want to just go back to the comments we made at the opening as I close here. We said at the outset that this is not a panacea. It is not a silver bullet. It does not completely solve the affordable housing crisis. If you want to see an increase in affordable housing stock, specifically rentals, there was a bill for that. That was House Bill 1017 I sponsored last year, and we actually see units being constructed. If you're worried about what the foreclosure crisis did on our housing market and the protections for homeowners who went through foreclosure, guess what? I sponsored 6 bills last year to make sure that homeowners who were going through foreclosure had the assistance they needed to stay in their home. That doesn't do that in this bill, because when we talk about housing, there's an entire spectrum of issues and challenges that arise. And so when we talk about this bill specifically and its connection to the ability for homeowners, the ability of Colorado residents, the ability of our neighbors to afford a roof over their heads, it's not directly an affordable housing bill. I see this as a pressure valve. If we do not see the construction of multifamily owner-occupied products, we will continue to see the things that have been written on the wall and written on the headline of the front page of every single newspaper in the state. Housing prices soar, rent prices out of control, $35 per hour you must earn to afford a rental in Denver. All verbatim headlines. And so if we're not seeing the construction of multifamily owner-occupied housing, we're going to continue to see our housing stock diminish. That's happening now. We see folks who are going through bidding wars where they're purchasing homes for $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 over asking in less than 10 hours of the homes being on the market because there's no stock. Demand is high. There is a huge population of folks who are looking for homes not just in the metro area, but everywhere. So if we continue to say, let's not look at the supply, let's not look at the build-out of communities, every single middle-class family, every single working person will be squeezed. I encourage you to do this. I did this the other night at the request of a senator to talk about what does it look like today to be a renter or to be a home owner, to jump into those markets. Go on Craigslist, colleagues, I implore you, and search for a rental that you would want to live in your Senate district, and look at the cost. I did that 2 nights ago, and the idea of affordable housing just impacting a single mom or a single dad raising 3 kids, that's not the reality anymore. Housing costs are affecting every single person. A 2-bedroom rental in the heart of Commerce City with the refinery as your backyard costs $1,400 a month. we need a pressure valve. We need to figure out this situation because it impacts all of us. And again, I respectfully ask for an aye vote on Senate Bill 177.
Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 177? Senator Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colleagues, I just want to renew the motion, renew the request for support. I appreciate the thoughtful discussion and work that has gone on to this. And it's a process. Ask that you continue. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 177? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 177. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 177 is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1173?
House Bill 1173 by Representatives Mitch Bush and Reagan and Senator Todd concerning a requirement that motor vehicles have certain traction equipment when driving on the Interstate 70 Mountain Corridor.
Majority Leader Shuffle.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, move that House Bill 1173 lay over to the end of the second reading of Bill's calendar.
The motion is to lay over House Bill 1173 to the end of the second reading calendar. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill will be laid over to the end of the calendar. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 209?
Senate Bill 209 by Senator Ballmer and Representative Williams concerning amendment to specify statutes governing the management of the financial affairs of the Unit Owners Association and the Colorado Common Interest Ownership Act so as to exempt communities in which a majority of units are designated for residential use are timeshare units.
Majority Leader Shuffle.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, move that Senate Bill 209 lay over to April 13.
Motion is for Senate Bill 209 to lay over to April 15th. All in favor, 13th, excuse me. The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 209 to April 13th. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 209 will lay over to April 13. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Concurrent Resolution 15001?
Senate Concurrent Resolution 1 by Senator Martinez-Humidic and Representative Windholz submitting to the registered electors of the state of Colorado an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning the repeal of the requirement that each county in the state elect a county surveyor.
Majority Leader Shuffle.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I move that the committee lay over Senate Concurrent Resolution 001 to April 14.
Motion is to lay over SCR 15001 to April 14th. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the concurrent resolution will lay over to April 14th. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1198?
House Bill 1198 by Representative Foote and Senator Stedman concerning enactment of 2008 amendments to the Uniform Interstate Family Support Act.
Senator Stedman. Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move that the committee lay over House Bill 1198 to the end of the second reading calendar.
The motion is to lay over House Bill 1198 to the end of the calendar. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill will be laid over to the end of the calendar. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to 1173?
House Bill 1173 by Representatives Mitch Bush and Reagan and Senator Todd concerning a requirement that motor vehicles have certain traction equipment when driving on the Interstate 70 Mountain Corridor.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I move, excuse me, House Bill 1173 and the Transportation Committee report.
To the Transportation Committee report. Senator Todd.
Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the committee report basically offered an amendment that said change the dates from November through May and added that when icy or snowpack conditions on I-70 between specific mile markers, 133 and 259.0 to Morrison, So identified a specific area where the majority of congestion takes place, and listing the types of tires and traction systems, and allowing for a CDOT educational effort. With that, I ask for an aye vote on the Senate Committee of Reference report.
Is there further discussion on the Transportation Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Transportation Committee report. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read L011?
Amendment L011 to House Bill 1173 by Senator Baumgartner. Amend the
Senator Baumgartner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L011.
To the amendment, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And understand, I understand that the problems on I-70, they've been talked about a lot. The thing that, and I'll tell you, I did vote for this in committee and had concerns with us and voiced those concerns when I was in committee, that later on down the road I didn't know how I was going to vote. But if you look at the things that's been said about this bill by the sponsors, that says this does not create any additional requirements or obligations upon any of the motorists. But what this does, it says you are required to carry tire chains to navigate those mountain passes, Vail. So what my amendment does, Mr. Chair, is it says, since we're talking about the safety of the public and goods, which the trucking industry brought out in the meeting, that it delayed them to where they could transport their goods from point A to point B because they were stuck in traffic. So what this amendment does is says that between Morrison and Dotsero, any highway that is reached by the I-70 corridor between those mountain passes, they still have to use that same traction device. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on L011? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L01. Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would oppose this. This is a bill that is about where the most congestion takes place on I-70. This is about public safety. This is about addressing an issue that has come to the forefront of tourism, of public safety along the I-70 corridor. At no point was this amendment ever discussed during committee. And so with that, I would simply urge a no on L011 and proceed with the bill.
Is there further discussion on Amendment L011? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L011. A division has been requested. Will all those not eligible to vote please be seated? The question before us is the adoption of Amendment L011. All in favor of L011, please stand and remain standing until the count has been completed. Please be seated. Those opposed to L011, please stand and remain standing until the count has been completed. Thank you. L011 is lost. To the bill, Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is a bill about public safety. This is a bill about addressing an issue that is facing Coloradans and also tourists that are coming and visiting our state. So when we heard testimony and we heard from a wide spectrum of constituents, one of the things that they talked mostly about was how do we keep the flow of traffic going? How do we make sure that whether it is in winter driving or whether it's in dry roads, obviously we need to address bigger problems with the whole transportation along I-70. But particularly with the bills that we have passed in the past for trucks to be able to adhere to and make sure that they have proper tires and are properly equipped. That is what this bill is about. It is simply about making sure that when people are driving on I-70 that they have proper tires, that they are not going to continue to contribute to congestion as a result of not being geared up and ready for winter driving particularly. So under this bill, any non-commercial vehicle driver that doesn't meet these traction requirements while driving on I-70 in the winter violates the chain law, committing a Class B traffic infraction. So what we've done is we've said this is true for truckers. Why should it not also be true for residential driving? So with that, I urge an aye vote on House Bill 1173.
Is there further discussion? Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I guess if we have a state that we can't afford to buy a condo in, we might as well have a state that has the tire police now on I-70. Folks, I don't know how to say this in a polite way, but this is really a dumb bill and a dumb idea. If it were about public safety, we would have adopted this latest amendment. But we didn't. So this isn't about public safety. This is about just basically more control and passing, frankly, something that is going to be extremely hard to enforce. I'd urge a no vote.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1173. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and 1173 is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1198?
House Bill 1198 by Representative Foote, Senator Stedman, concerning enactment of the 2008 amendments to the Uniform Interstate Family Support Act.
Senator Stedman.
You want to do it?
What is it? Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Mr.
Majority Leader Sheffel.
I move House Bill
Senator Stedman.
1198, and I have a floor amendment if I could have a senatorial 5.
Good heavens. We will stand in a senatorial 5. The Senate will come back to order. Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and my apologies, colleagues. I move House Bill 1198. This is a bill from the Uniform Law Commission, and I have a technical amendment that needs to be adopted.
There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read L003?
Amendment L003 to House Bill 1198 by Senator Stedman. Amendment.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Amendment L003. And this amendment makes some very minor changes to strike the word written in a couple places. The point of the amendment is to bring our current Uniform Interstate Family Support Act in line with the Model Act promulgated by the Uniform Law Commission. And the reason this is important is the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement is insisting on verbatim adoption of the Model Act by all 50 states. And if we do not have, and we confirmed with them yesterday that they expect verbatim adoption of the Model Act. If we are not in compliance, we risk the loss of a considerable amount of federal funding under Title 4D of the Social Security Act. So I would respectfully ask for your approval of Amendment L003.
Is there further discussion on Amendment L003? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L003. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L003 is adopted. To the bill, Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, colleagues, as you might have gathered, this is a law from the Uniform Law Commission, and as I said earlier, there's been recent federal legislation that was adopted last fall that is requiring states to update their child support enforcement laws when you're dealing with child support enforcements across jurisdictional boundaries. And most of the updates in House Bill 1198 have to do with international child support enforcement when you have foreign tribunals that have entered support orders, and that is bringing our law into compliance with the Hague Convention on International Child Support Enforcement, and that's the point of the bill. And as it now stands as amended, this is verbatim in conformance with the Uniform Model Act, and something Colorado needs to adopt this year, so I would ask for your aye vote.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I supported this when we heard it in committee. The mechanisms that exist when it comes to managing child support payments across state lines are not perfect at all. And across international boundaries, I'm sure you can imagine, are even less than not perfect. This is legislation to add some uniformity. As we've heard on other legislation, I don't think this is curing all the problems, but it is addressing issues in the right direction, and therefore we did support it going out of committee.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1198? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1198. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1198 is adopted. Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is to rise and report. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report. It seems like when folks...
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
April 10, 2015, Mr. President, your committee of the whole business report is under consideration of the following tax bills being second read thereof makes following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 177 is amended, passed on second reading in order to gross place the counter for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1173 is amended. House Bill 1198 is amended, passed on second reading in order to revise place the counter for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 209 laid over until April 13, 2015, retaining place on the counter. Senate Bill 135 and Senate Concurrent Resolution 1 laid over until April 14, 2015, retaining their place on the calendar.
Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of the report.
I believe we have an amendment coming. The Senate will stand in recess until the amendment is prepared. The Senate will come back to order. Mr. Majors, please read Committee of the Whole Amendment 1 to 1173.
Committee of the Whole Amendment 1 to House Bill 1173. Senator Baumgartner moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole so that the following Baumgartner floor amendment L011 to House Bill 1173
Senator
did
Baumgartner.
pass. And that
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Committee of the Whole Amendment 1.
Continue.
This amendment speaks to the amendment which said that any highway that intersects with I-70 between those mile points should be included in the bill. Understanding that congestion is a problem, but also that we need for those products, just not off of I-70, but all these other roads, it's important to Leadville and to Grand County and to Steamboat. And this just says that if we're going to do this on I-70 between these mile points, then we need to do it on those finger roads as well. I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would request a ruling from the chair as to whether or not the amendment fits under the bill title.
The Senate will take a senatorial 5. The Senate will come back to order. The amendment fits under the title. The motion before us is the adoption of the Committee Whole Amendment 1. Senator Jones?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to know which highways we're talking about and the aerial extent of them and how far they go. You know, we talked about Berthoud Pass a second ago, but what other highways are we talking about that the, as we heard at the mic from the Tire Police, will have authority?
Is there further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, are there any no votes? Senator Stedman is a no. Minority Leader Carroll. Senator Jones. Senator Donovan. Senator Todd. Senator John. Senator Johnston. Senator Kerr. Senator Heath. Senator Todd, I got you. Senator Guzman. Senator Aguilar. Senator Kafalis. Senator Garcia, Senator Merrifield, Senator Ulibarri, Senator Newell, Senator Hodge. No votes. With 18 ayes, 17 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the Committee of the Whole Amendment 1 is adopted. To the bill. Is there further discussion? Actually, no, we're not on the bill. We are on the Committee of the Whole. Report of the Committee of the Whole. Seeing no further discussion, are there any no votes on the report of the Committee of the Whole? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Senate Bill 177 as amended passed on second reading and ordered and engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1173 as amended. House Bill 1198 as amended passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 209 laid over until April 13th and retaining its place on the calendar. Senate Bill 135, Senate Concurrent Resolution 1 laid over until April 14th and retaining their place on the calendar. Consideration of House amendments to Senate bills. Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Bill 110.
Senate Bill 110 by Senator Baumgartner and Representative Janal concerning the continuation of the regulation of the Director of the Division of Professions and Occupations of funeral establishments and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations of the Department of Regulatory Agencies as contained in the 2014 Census Report and making an appropriation.
Now, my apologies. Senator Baumgartner.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I, as much as it pains me, I move Senate Bill 110, and as much as it pains me, I move to concur. I know.
The motion before us is to concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 110. Further discussion? Are there any no votes? Senator Jones. With 34 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, the Senate concurs to House amendments to Senate Bill 110. Senator Baumgartner.
I move for the readoption of Senate Bill 15110. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, are there any no votes? Senator Lundberg. Senator Marble. With 33 ayes, 2 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 110 is readopted. Co-sponsors. Mr. Majors, please read the title to Senate Bill 211.
Senate Bill 211 by Senator Lambert and Representative Rankin concerning an automatic funding mechanism for payment of future costs attributable to certain of the state's capital assets.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with House amendments on Senate Bill 211.
Is there further discussion? Senator Lambert.
Thank you. This was the bill that had the automatic payment mechanism for states' capital assets. What the House did was expand some of the language to allow institutions, it's basically as calculated by state agency or state institution of higher education. So it allows higher education to calculate some of their own depreciation costs, and I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is to concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 211. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, the Senate concurs with House amendments to Senate Bill 211. Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the readoption of Senate Bill 211.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the readoption of Senate Bill 211. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 211 is readopted. Co-sponsors. Mr. Majors, please read the title to Senate Bill 234.
Senate Bill 234 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning the provision for payment of the expenses of the executive, legislative, and judicial departments of the state of Colorado and of its agencies and institutions for and during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2015, except as otherwise noted.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate reject House amendments to Senate Bill 234 and that a conference committee be appointed.
Would you care to offer any explanation?
Thank you. Members, this is the long bill. There were several amendments from the House, and we've been requested to go to conference committee on this, so I request the conference committee be formed.
Is there further discussion on the motion to reject House amendments to Senate Bill 234 and to form a conference committee? Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, the Senate rejects House amendments to Senate Bill 234 and a conference committee will be appointed. Senator Lambert, Senator Grantham, Senator Stedman will be members of the first conference committee to Senate Bill 234, and Senator Lambert will be the chair. Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request that the conference committee be given permission to go beyond the scope of differences between the two houses.
You have heard the motion. Senator Lambert, would you like to describe why this is necessary?
Thank you, Mr. President. As we've gone through several of the amendments and in rewriting amendments coming out of, which are sometimes rather terse, sometimes these require some just corrections and editing. Our JBC staff has found some very technical errors, and in some cases, we do want to consider roll forward authority on a couple of programs that involve some contracts that will not be completed by the end of the fiscal year. If we didn't do it now, we might have to do this by other supplementals later on this year. So this will make cleanup more straightforward, and that's the primary reasons we can think of right now that we might need to go beyond the scope.
Thank you, Senator Lambert. The motion before the body is to grant the conferees permission on the first conference committee to go beyond the scope on Senate Bill 234 to consider matters not at issue between the two houses. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Permission is granted. Consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar. Mr. Majors, please read the governor's appointments.
Member of the State Housing Board for a term expiring January 31st, 2019, Letitia Jones Horace of Denver, Colorado, a Democrat and resident of the 1st Congressional District, appointed.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate confirm the governor's appointments listed on the consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar, including a member of the State Housing Board.
Is there further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, Letitia Jones Horace is confirmed on the State Housing Board. Delivery to the Governor.
To the Governor for signature on Thursday, April 9, 2015 at 4:05 p.m. Senate Bills 5, 15, 30, 58, 97, 99, 105, 126, 171, 186, 187, 188, 189, and 190.
Committee reports.
April 9, 2015, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 258 be amended as follows, and also amended for the Committee on Appropriations. A favorable recommendation. April 9, 2015, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 252 be referred to Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 9, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy has had our consideration as at a hearing on the following appointment and recommends the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Colorado Energy Research Authority for a term expiring July 1st, 2018, Michelle Hadwiger of Denver, Colorado, appointed. April 9, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy has had our consideration as at a hearing on the following appointment and recommends the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Colorado State Fair Authority Board of Commissioners for a term expiring November 1st, 2018, Ronald J. Tech of Grand Junction, Colorado, a Republican from the 3rd Congressional District who resides on the western slope of the state, appointed. April 9, 2015, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 206 be amended as follows and as so amended before the Committee on Finance with favorable recommendation. April 9, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy has had our consideration as at hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Water Quality Control Commission for terms expiring February 15, 2018, Richard Clark Crum of Nathrop, Colorado, appointed. Mary Beth Fabiziak of Lakewood, Colorado, reappointed. John Slutsky of Wellington, Colorado, reappointed. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 109 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 14 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 7 be postponed indefinitely. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 12 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 20 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 29 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 63 be postponed indefinitely. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 184 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 185 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 207 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 113 be postponed indefinitely. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 89 be postponed indefinitely. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 127 be postponed indefinitely. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 205 be referred to Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 256 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 217 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 67 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 203 be referred to Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 181 be referred to Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 229 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 11 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1149 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1266 be referred to Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 133 be referred to Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1153 be referred to Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 195 be amended as follows, and also amended before the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 228 be amended as follows, and also amended before the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 227 before the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 10, 2015, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1280 be referred to the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar.
Before we move to other business, I want to thank the Appropriations Committee for getting so many bills done in such an efficient manner this morning. Give it up for your colleagues on the Appropriations Committee. I think most of you joined them. That seemed kind of light. Some of you obviously didn't make it through appropriations this morning. Now for the important business. Would the choir please gather in the appropriate place? And where is the guest of honor? Where is Senator to be older Balmer? Please assume the position of serenade. I think you. Somebody please help him put his hat on.
Where is he? He's coming.
You heard Mike touchdown.
There he is.
Yay. Oh, yeah. All day. You have to wear that all day.
It's supposed to go on your nose.
Looks about the
Yeah, on
same.
the nose.
There you go.
Unicorn.
Unicorn.
There you go.
Happy
There.
Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Senator Balmer. Happy birthday to you.
Hold on, choir. I think perhaps one rendition of "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," considering it's opening day, would be a. Should we hear one more song from him?
I don't know the words. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never come back, for it's root for the Rockies. If they don't win, it's a shame, 'cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Announcements. Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. President. And if all the members could give us a little bit of attention here, and you have a visual aid that says Colorado Brewers Guild Hop the Vote 2015. It is on your desk. Pull it out, because it has information that you need. So I'm sure you're all very aware of last year at the 2014 Great American Beer Festival, the other chamber and their representative Saison edged out the Senate's upper chamber fresh hop pale ale on a 52 to 48% vote at the Great American Beer Festival, voted by the attendees. And so the Senate, since we were so close, and even our recount didn't work for us, but so what we are doing in the theme of sports today is that we did some free agent acquisitions over the off season, and that brings us to
Colleagues,
Senator Holbert.
so proud to be on Team Senate for Hop the Vote in 2015. We're going to take the battle to the enemy. We're going to hit the base hits. We're going to drive it over the fence. We're going to run hard and slide in when we need to. But it was quite an achievement there on the last session of Great American Beer Fest. The house was behind by about 3 points, and we got out there and worked the crowd and badmouthed the Senate beer. But I'm here to make sure that that doesn't happen this year. We understand that the House is working on a recipe with overboiled Brussels sprouts and old socks. So I think we've got some room to improve here. But please come and join us the evening of Wednesday, April 22nd. You can get the information about the location there on your flyer. Let's make this a bipartisan team effort this summer as we meet at a Denver area brewery and brew the Senate beer and take it to Great American Beer Fest and win one for the Senate. This morning I had the opportunity to see the new Hop the Vote trophy that has been now presented to the lower chamber. I thought maybe sometime this session before we're done we could go confiscate that and bring it into the well, because we're the only ones that can come down the center aisle. But we may have some mischief yet this session, but let's get together, all 35 of us, and go brew a great batch of beer and win this back and tie it up 1-1.
That concludes that announcement. Further announcements. Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, on your desks, you received a flyer about Monday's Colorado Children's Caucus. We are meeting. If you would like lunch, it helps to have an RSVP, so please RSVP today if you could. And we are hearing about child abuse intervention efforts, the Colorado Child Welfare Training Academy, the new neglect hotline, awareness campaign, and also what we're doing for early intervention, which is the Colorado Community Response. So hope to see you there.
Additional announcements. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the betterment of the entire state of Colorado, I move that the Senate adjourn to 10 a.m. Monday, April 13.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The Senate will be adjourned, except for those who voted no, until 10 a.m. Monday, April 13th.